I've occasionally seen the Lair of the Shadow Broker DLC described as Shepard's loyalty mission over the years, and I'm not sure if I fully agreed or understood that when I played through the game back in 2010. All these years later, though, with the Legendary Edition, playing through the trilogy again really hit home just how lonely Shepard is in the second game. And how, whether Shepard romanced Liara or not in the first game, the way this DLC culminates really is significant in a narrative way for Shepard. It empowers the story from one where Shepard is leading a team into a mission they aren't even sure they'll survive to one where he or she has a personal stake in the future after that, more than simply saving the galaxy because they're the only one who can. The way it pays off the isolation Shepard feels throughout Mass Effect 2 really shines by the end, and we'll dig into that. This video essay assumes you've already played these games, so if you haven't, know that there will be several spoilers in talking about this. No way to avoid that. The concept of having one's resolve tested is present from the beginning of Mass Effect, even in the first game, while Captain Anderson makes it clear that he has faith in Shepard and put his name forward for the Spectres. It's also framed like it's primarily something Shepard should do because the message it would send about humanity's place in the galaxy. Udina focuses on the political advantages of this, making it pretty clear he sees Shepard as a tool. And even the Council, the ones who grant the Spectre status ultimately, show reluctance about Shepard's theories about the Reapers. They only acknowledge Saren as a threat, and let him do as he will. At one point a little later in the game, Admiral Mikhailovich even sidelines Shepard one of the times they return to the Citadel and insults everything about the Normandy and Shepard's choices in Alien Comrades. Shepard can make compelling arguments to defend the ship and its crew, but the Admiral still doesn't seem entirely convinced. Shepard faces a pretty unwelcome reception on Noveria and a somewhat ungrateful attitude from some of the colonists on Pharos. But even amidst all of this, in the first game, Shepard gets a lot of internal support from their squad. Kaidan makes it clear he thinks Shepard is being foolishly stonewalled by the Council, and by the end of the game, everyone in the ship is willing to essentially commit mutiny and steal the Normandy back to race into uncertain opposition on Ilos with Shepard. And in the first game, even if the Council doesn't totally buy into the Reaper's theory, there is at least a sense that as far as Saren goes, everyone is behind Shepard and the mission and rooting for them. And by and large, the powers that be are with Shepard. There's a pretty huge tonal shift going into Mass Effect 2. When Shepard wakes up after being resurrected by Cerberus, they're hit with a few pretty tough realities. First, both the Alliance and Council pretty much wanted Shepard's Reaper story buried. Officially, the attack on the Citadel was labeled a Geth issue, and now that the Geth are largely dealt with, they consider it a done deal. 2, they publicly made Shepard out to be delusional and broke up the crew. 3, because it's been 2 years, Shepard's entire squad has moved on to other things. There are no friendly faces in Shepard's world. Everyone Shepard meets initially is a stranger, and part of a fringe organization Shepard had previously fought. Shepard is promised answers with the elusive man, but most of that first dialogue paints an even more dismal picture of the state of things. The Collectors are abducting entire colonies, no one cares, and no one is doing anything. If the elusive man is to be believed at this point, it's clear to Shepard that they are likely can't count on any power structures that they served before to help. When Shepard returns to the Citadel, if they spared the Council in the first game, they can appeal for help. Unfortunately, Shepard is once again basically dismissed as crazy, and that there's nothing to any of that. Further, they say this is all happening in the Terminus systems where they have no authority. But they do at least offer to reinstate Shepard as a Spectre. Sadly, though, even being a Spectre doesn't overshadow the involvement with Cerberus, and if Shepard asks Anderson about where Ashley or Kaidan ended up, Anderson says he can't tell Shepard. So at this point, there is no way to reconnect with the initial members of Shepard's team. Shepard is now staring at a mission with an even larger scope than before, with stakes even larger, and now seemingly must do it basically alone. Shepard's only allies are, at this point, people he or she doesn't even know they can trust when it counts. The new Normandy, despite being bigger and nicer than the original, also features a few changes that contribute to Shepard's sense of isolation. Miranda has taken over Shepard's old office on Deck 3, somewhere that previously would have placed Shepard right in the middle of the crew, near the mess hall, even when he's off duty. Now, as nice as the captain's loft seems at a glance, bear in mind it's also on its own floor, totally cut off from the rest of the crew. It really struck me this playthrough how this would mean that Shepard begins and ends each day alone. The crew itself is very different too. In some ways, Shepard is basically recruiting a team of superheroes in the second game. The best assassin in the galaxy, a Justicar, the most powerful human biotic, the purest and strongest Krogan, someone who single-handedly repelled 3 extremely deadly gangs, etc. It's cool to have such powerful people with you, but it's also a testament to what this mission is going to take. These are the stakes. A team of the galaxy's best and deadliest, and everyone still assumes chances are slim on coming back from the Omega-4 relay. And even more ominously, it's a mission sanctioned by what the rest of the galaxy views as a terrorist group. Neither the Alliance nor the Council acknowledge the Collectors are even real, and neither want any part in this mission. Being a Spectre again means Shepard is free to act, but is still acting essentially alone. There's a real sense of chaos and danger here that wasn't present in the same way in Mass Effect 1. Admiral Hackett eventually reaches out to Shepard to start the Arrival DLC. In context, though, this comes off a bit cold too. Everyone has thought Shepard was dead for 2 years, and while it's a compliment that Hackett thinks to reach out to Shepard with this mission first, there's also no, "Hey, glad to hear you're still alive, Commander." It's just straight to, "You're here. Here's a mission only you can pull off." With the exception of Anderson, the only people at the Alliance who even talk to Shepard only do so because they want something only Shepard can provide. Otherwise, they offer no support or even a curiosity to see what Shepard is up to. On Horizon, the conversation with Kaidan or Ashley inevitably goes south, with them making it clear they don't trust Shepard and won't even hear Shepard out about working with Cerberus. As I mentioned in my last video, it adds insult to injury that Kaidan even dismisses Shepard's claims about the Collectors the same way that the Council has done several times now, namely by suggesting someone else is tricking Shepard into believing a dead end. I hadn't even had my Shepard romance Kaidan in the first game this particular playthrough, since I had roleplayed that when Kaidan started getting jealous of Liara and giving Shepard crap about it, Shepard decided he was being possessive in a way that was kind of a turnoff, since at that point I had only talked to Liara once. Rather than headcanon around the weird writing, I kind of leaned into it. But even then, immersion-wise, I really felt the letdown with Shepard when Kaidan was so dismissive. Even when Kaidan could see Garrus standing right next to me. Apparently, Kaidan believed Garrus is an idiot as well. When Shepard first visits Ilium, it's probably a bit frustrating to reunite with Liara, but then see how she's totally wrapped up in chasing the Shadow Broker. She too, at first, sends Shepard on some errands to help her without any warmth past that initial hug. One more opportunity for a genuine connection, and once more, a squad mate is too busy. But it's really by the end of the Shadow Broker DLC where this element comes full circle in a beautiful way. I have to give it to Garrus that despite his uncertainty about Cerberus, he still follows Shepard. There's trust there, for sure. Same with Tali, who seems even more uncertain about Cerberus, but still tags along. It means a lot that they still trust Shepard enough to come along on a deadly mission under a questionable banner. But beyond being a dependable squad mate for the mission, neither Tali nor Garrus offer much personal support or curiosity for Shepard at this point. At the point where the Shadow Broker DLC becomes available, all of Shepard's squad mates are starting to bring up their loyalty missions. It makes sense to do these missions, but it's once again essentially everyone needing something from Shepard. Here Shepard is, someone who suffered a painful death and a major lack of support afterward, is now assembling a crew of the most dangerous and sometimes unstable people in the galaxy, all to perform a mission no one is sure they'll come back from. But here Shepard is, showing up for everybody else and bearing the emotional weight of everything in silence. When Liara joins Shepard in their quarters for drinks after defeating the Shadow Broker, she asks Shepard,
"How are you actually doing, Shepard? I mean, really. Not what you tell your squad to keep morale up."
It struck me as significant that Liara is the only person in the game to actually care or ask that. And when Shepard is honest with Liara,
"Honestly, I'm tired. Tired of dealing with Cerberus. Tired of the Council ignoring me. Tired of my closest friends not believing me."
"Yes, I heard about what Kaidan said on Horizon. I'm sorry."
she offers both sympathy for the lack of support as well as genuine encouragement. In my game, where I'd romanced Liara before, she was clearly hesitant to resume a relationship with Shepard because of the fear of losing Shepard again in the final mission. But I think part of why she ultimately breaks down and reconnects with Shepard is not simply how much she wants to be with Shepard. She can also tell how wary Shepard is, and probably realizes that Shepard's best chance of surviving the final mission is going into it feeling like someone is really rooting for them. That seemed really significant to me this playthrough, and it was easy to roleplay a renewed sense of wind in Shepard's sails from that. Liara's empathy and connection allowed Shepard to see the mission as more than just simply a thing that had to be done to save the galaxy. It's the few strong personal connections Shepard has left that speak to a future beyond this potentially final mission. There are a specific people worth fighting for, rather than just the galaxy at large, and someone who loves Shepard to come back to. In a game where even those like the Elusive Man chose Shepard because they're the only one who could pull the mission off, that faith is communicated merely as pragmatism. The Elusive Man acknowledges that Shepard is a symbol, but is mainly interested in that symbol insofar as it helps fight the Reapers. This mission needs to happen, and the galaxy needs Shepard to do it. Liara, in contrast, is Shepard's biggest cheerleader here. Her faith in Shepard is more personal than just practical. She believes in Shepard, the man or woman, as much as she does Shepard, the soldier. Doing everyone else's loyalty mission is essentially a way for them to resolve something eating at them, so that they can have a clear head going into the final mission. And in this playthrough, it really seemed beautiful, the way that the Shadow Broker DLC allowed the same thing to happen for Shepard. I think this is true for Shepard even if Liara is just a friend, but if Liara was Shepard's bondmate, I know if it were me, and I'd been shunned by just about everyone I knew before, having met someone who loves me, give me a real sense of connection again before I went off to do the impossible would make all the difference. In a little side note, it's also interesting how in the first game several Alliance characters question Shepard bringing aliens along in the squad and question whether Shepard can really trust them, and yet, throughout the rest of the trilogy, it's Shepard's Alliance squad members that are the least loyal or willing to give Shepard the benefit of the doubt. Only Garrus and Tali are your squad mates in all three games. Rex is busy in 2, but he does greet Shepard very warmly when you meet him on Tuchanka, and we've already talked about Liara. Really, it's only the aliens that really have Shepard's back. I'll still be creating tech-related content going forward, but I'd said a ways back I meant to work more on gaming content, and these videos are my attempts to delve further into that. If you're into this, there's more coming, so consider subscribing. I'd love to hear your take on Mass Effect 2 and this DLC. Did you feel the same thing playing through the Legendary Edition? Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll catch me in the next one.